The echoes of extinction. The universe had long forgotten the name human. The galaxy's many species, from the mighty Kisher Imperium to the enigmatic Cattle Collective, spoke of the ancient race only in hushed, almost mythical tones. Humans were a footnote in history, an ancient people who had once reached out into the stars only to vanish without a trace. No one knew the true reason for their disappearance. Some believed they had destroyed themselves in a catastrophic war. Others claimed they had simply grown tired of existence and faded into the void. But deep within the hidden corners of the universe, in a forgotten system shielded by impenetrable nebulae, something was stirring. Something that had slept for 500,000 years. The starship Nova Solis, flagship of the Hidden Earth Fleet, was the crown jewel of human engineering. It was a relic from a time when humanity had mastered the very fabric of space-time, a ship designed for one final purpose: vengeance. Buried deep within the crust of a lifeless moon, the Nova Solis and its fleet had remained dormant, their crew held in stasis, waiting for a signal that had never come until now. Captain Elias Drake was the first to awaken, his cryopod hissing as it opened. He stumbled out, disoriented, his mind struggling to catch up with the enormity of the time that had passed. He checked the chronometer, and his breath caught in his throat. 500,000 years. They had slept for 500,000 years. Drake's hands trembled as he activated the ship's systems, feeling the immense power of the Nova Solis humming to life around him. The HFY, a highly advanced sentient program, greeted him with a calm, almost eerie voice. "Captain Drake, it is good to see you again. I have been monitoring the galaxy during our dormancy. The signal you requested has been received. The Kisher Imperium has declared victory over the last human colony, again. It seems they have finally forgotten we existed." Drake clenched his fists. The Kisher had been humanity's greatest enemy, a warlike species that had once been humbled by human tenacity. But after humanity's supposed extinction, they had grown arrogant, rewriting history to paint themselves as the victors of a war that had never truly ended. HALIA, prepare the fleet, Drake ordered, his voice hoarse but filled with resolve. It's time to remind the galaxy who we are. As the other cryopods began to open, releasing the rest of the crew, Captain Drake made his way to the bridge. He could feel the weight of history pressing down on him, the responsibility of being the last remnant of a civilization that had been wronged. The crew, groggy but determined, assembled around him. There were only a few thousand of them, but they were the best humanity had ever produced: soldiers, scientists, engineers, and strategists, all hand-picked for this final mission. "Listen up," Drake said, his voice carrying the authority of a man born to lead. "We've slept for a long time. The galaxy thinks we're dead, forgotten. But we're going to show them just how wrong they are. Our mission is simple. We strike at the heart of the Kisher Imperium. We take back what was stolen from us. We make them pay for what they did to our people." There was no hesitation in the crew's response. They had trained for this moment, had been chosen for their unwavering loyalty and skill. For them, this was the culmination of everything they had lived and died for. HALIA displayed the star map on the main screen, highlighting the Kisher homeworld. "Their defenses are formidable," she said, "but they will not expect us. They do not believe we still exist." Drake nodded, his mind already running through the tactical possibilities. "We'll strike fast and hard. No mercy. We need to make sure they understand the full weight of our wrath." As the fleet prepared to launch, a sense of grim determination settled over the crew. They were the last humans, the final chapter in their species' history, and they intended to write that chapter in fire and blood. But as the Nova Solis prepared to break free from its long-hidden lair, a lone ship appeared on the edge of their senses. It was small, a scout vessel, but it was broadcasting a signal that sent chills down Drake's spine. It was a human signal. HHALIA. "What is that?" Drake demanded, his heart pounding. It is a distress signal, Captain, HALI replied, her voice tinged with surprise. And it's over 500,000 years old. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Another human ship, out there in the void, possibly as old as theirs, possibly still alive. Set a course, Drake ordered, his voice hardening. We're not alone, and we're going to find out just what's been waiting for us all these years. The Nova Solis and its fleet surged out of their hiding place, leaving behind the dead moon and heading into the unknown. The galaxy thought humanity was gone, but the truth was far more complicated and far more dangerous. The legacy unveiled. The Nova Solis raced through the stars, its engines burning with the fire of a species reborn. Captain Drake stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the coordinates of the ancient distress signal. The crew, still adjusting to the reality of their situation, moved with purpose and precision. There was no room for doubt now. The discovery of another human ship had reignited a hope they didn't even know they had. HALIA, how far are we from the source? Drake asked, his voice breaking the tense silence. Approaching in approximately 15 minutes, Captain, the AI replied. Preliminary scans indicate the ship is adrift. Power levels are minimal, but life support systems appear to be intact. Drake's mind raced. What could have happened to this ship? Had it suffered the same fate as humanity, lost in time and forgotten by the galaxy? Or was there something more sinister at play? The thought of what they might find gnawed at him, but he pushed it aside. They were the last of their kind, and if there was even a chance of finding more survivors, they had to take it. As the Nova Solis drew closer, the outline of the ancient ship appeared on the viewscreen. It was massive, easily matching the size of the flagship, but its design was different, older, more rugged. The hull was scarred and battered, evidence of battles fought long ago. The ship's name, barely visible through the layers of grime and damage, sent a jolt through Drake's heart. The Ascendant, he whispered, recognizing the legendary vessel from the history of the Great War. The Ascendant had been one of humanity's most powerful warships, leading the charge against the Xer Imperium in the final days of the conflict. But it had disappeared, presumed destroyed, along with its entire crew. HALIA, open a channel, Drake ordered, his voice filled with urgency. Try to establish contact. For a moment, there was only static. Then, a crackling voice, weak and distorted, broke through the noise. This is Captain Kara Lynn of the Ascendant. If you can hear this, please respond. We are, survivors, need assistance. Drake's heart pounded in his chest. Survivors. After all this time, there were still humans out there, fighting to survive. Captain Lynn, this is Captain Elias Drake of the Nova Solis. We're here to help. Hang tight, we're coming aboard. The crew of the Nova Solis moved with practiced efficiency, preparing a boarding party to investigate the Ascendant. Drake himself led the team, his heart heavy with a mixture of hope and dread. The galaxy had been harsh to humanity, and he feared what they might find on this ancient ship. As they docked with the Ascendant, the boarding party encountered a ship frozen in time. The corridors were dark and cold, the air thick with the scent of decay. Yet, there was life here, barely. They found the survivors huddled in the remains of the ship's cryochambers, their bodies frail and weak from centuries of stasis and minimal rations. Captain Kara Lynn was among them, her once proud figure reduced to a shadow of its former self. Yet, when she looked up and saw Drake, her eyes still burned with the fierce determination of a soldier. "You're alive," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I thought we were the last." "We thought the same," Drake replied, kneeling beside her. "But we're here now, and we're not giving up. We're going to finish what we started." Lynn's grip on his arm tightened. "The Xer, they never stopped. They hunted us down, destroyed our worlds, but we fought back. We never surrendered. We kept the fight alive." Drake's respect for this woman, who had endured so much for so long, deepened. You did more than anyone could have asked. Now it's our turn to take the fight to them. As the survivors were transferred to the Nova Solis, Drake learned more about what had happened in the millennia since humanity's supposed extinction. The Ascendant had been on a desperate mission to strike at the heart of the Kshar Imperium when it was ambushed and forced into hiding. With no way to return home, the crew had put themselves in stasis, hoping to survive until they could continue the fight. For 500,000 years, they had waited, unaware of the passing centuries, clinging to the hope that one day they would be able to strike back. And now, with the combined strength of the Nova Solis and the Ascendant, that day had finally come. "We'll repair your ship, bring her back to full strength," Drake promised Captain Lin as they stood together on the bridge of the Nova Solis. "And when we're ready, we'll hit the Kshar where it hurts the most." Lin nodded, her eyes blazing with the fire of vengeance. "For humanity." "For humanity," Drake echoed. The two ships, united by their shared history and their unbreakable will, set course for the Kshar Imperium. They were the last remnants of a forgotten species, but they carried with them the legacy of humanity's indomitable spirit, and they were ready to unleash it upon the galaxy. The awakening of wrath, the combined fleets of the Nova Solis and the Ascendant carved a path through the galaxy, a force of vengeance and justice long overdue. The survivors of the Ascendant were reinvigorated by the presence of their newfound allies, their ancient wounds healing in the glow of purpose. As the two ships moved closer to the heart of the Kshar Imperium, the weight of their mission pressed heavier on every crew member. Captain Drake stood on the bridge, watching as the stars streaked by. Each moment brought them closer to the confrontation they had all been waiting for, the final reckoning. Captain Lin had become his confidant and equal, her experiences over the centuries providing invaluable insight into the Kshar and their tactics. Together, they formed the formidable team, each drawing strength from the other. HFY interrupted his thoughts with a soft chime. "Captain Drake, we're approaching the first of the Kshar outer defenses. Sensors indicate heavy fortifications." Drake turned to Lin, who was seated beside him. "Time to see what we're up against." The main viewscreen lit up with the image of the Kshar defensive line, a formidable array of warships, space stations, and automated weapon platforms. The Imperium had not grown complacent during humanity's absence. They had fortified their borders, prepared for any threat. But they hadn't prepared for this. "They'll never see it coming," Lin murmured, a cold smile playing on her lips. "They think we're dead. They think they've already won." "But we're about to change that," Drake replied, his voice steely. "HFY, initiate Phase 1. Let's give them a taste of what humanity is capable of." The Nova Solis and the Ascendant moved into position, their weapons primed and ready. The Kshar forces began to mobilize, their ships shifting into defensive formations. But they were too late. The hidden Earth fleet had planned for this moment for 500,000 years, and their technology had advanced far beyond what the galaxy knew. With a single command, the Nova Solis unleashed a barrage of weaponry that tore through the Kshar defenses like tissue paper. The energy beams and railguns of the Earth fleet were more powerful than anything the Kshar had ever encountered, bypassing their shields and ripping through their hulls with ease. The Ascendant followed suit, its ancient but still deadly weapon systems lighting up the void with the brilliance of destruction. The Kshar ships, caught off guard, struggled to regroup, but the Earth fleet was relentless. They pressed forward, cutting through the enemy lines with ruthless efficiency. "Captain, we're receiving multiple distress signals from the Kshar," HFY reported. "They're calling for reinforcements." "Let them," Lin said coldly. "It won't make a difference." Drake nodded in agreement. "Keep pushing forward. We need to reach their command center before they can mount a proper defense." The two ships continued their assault, their crews working in perfect harmony. The years of training and preparation had forged them into a single, unstoppable force, and they moved as one, their minds focused on a single goal: the annihilation of the Kishar Imperium. But the Kishar were not entirely unprepared. As the Earth fleet neared the heart of the defensive line, a massive Kishar dreadnought emerged from the shadows. It was a ship unlike any they had seen before, its hull bristling with weapons and armor, its size dwarfing even the mighty Nova Solis. "Captain Drake, we have a problem," HFY said, her voice tight with urgency. "That ship is heavily armed and shielded. It's on an intercept course." Drake's mind raced as he considered their options. The dreadnought was a serious threat, one that could potentially stop their advance and end their mission before it truly began. But retreat was not an option, not now, not after everything they had been through. "We'll have to take it down," Drake said, his voice grim. "HALIA, prepare the supernova cannon." Lynn's eyes widened. "The supernova cannon. That's the most powerful weapon we have. It could destroy us if we're not careful." Drake nodded, understanding the risks. The supernova cannon was a weapon of last resort, designed to harness the energy of a star and focus it into a single devastating blast. It was a weapon that could potentially turn the tide of battle, or obliterate them all. "We don't have a choice," he said, meeting her gaze. "If we don't take out that dreadnought, it could stop us from reaching the Kishar homeworld. We have to risk it." Lynn hesitated, but then she nodded, her resolve hardening. "Do it." Halia's voice was calm as she began the activation sequence. Supernova cannon charging. Estimated time to full power: 5 minutes. The Earth fleet continued to engage the Kishar forces, but the dreadnought loomed ever closer, its weapon systems coming online. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the seconds ticked by, each one bringing them closer to the moment of truth. "Cannon charged," HALI announced, her voice cutting through the silence. "Ready to fire on your command, Captain." Drake took a deep breath, his hand hovering over the controls. This was it, the moment that could decide the fate of their mission. If the cannon failed, they would be at the mercy of the Kishar dreadnought. But if it succeeded— "Fire," he ordered, his voice firm. The Nova Solis shuddered as the supernova cannon unleashed its fury. A beam of pure, blinding energy shot from the ship's prow, streaking across the void and striking the Kishar dreadnought dead center. For a moment, there was nothing but silence as the energy coursed through the enemy ship. Then, with a deafening roar, the dreadnought exploded, its massive hull torn apart by the unimaginable force of the blast. The bridge of the Nova Solis erupted in cheers as the Kishar flagship disintegrated before their eyes. The remaining enemy ships, leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat, their morale shattered by the destruction of their most powerful vessel. Drake allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. They had done it. They had broken through the Kishar defenses, and were now on the verge of striking at the very heart of the Imperium. But as the Earth fleet regrouped and prepared for the final assault, HALI's voice broke through the celebration, her tone laced with concern. "Captain Drake, we have a new contact on the sensors. It's enormous, and it's heading straight for us." Drake's smile faded as he turned his attention back to the viewscreen. There, emerging from the darkness of space, was something he had never expected, something that threatened to upend everything they had fought for. A Kishar war machine, larger and more terrifying than anything they had ever encountered, was bearing down on them, its weapon systems glowing with deadly intent. The final battle had only just begun. The heart of vengeance. The war machine that loomed before the Earth fleet was a behemoth of metal and malice, a dreadnought that made the previous ship look like a mere skiff. Its surface was covered in shifting armor plates, designed to absorb and dissipate even the most powerful attacks. This was no ordinary Kishar vessel. It was a weapon of mass destruction, created for one purpose: to crush any who dared oppose the Imperium. Captain Drake stared at the monstrosity on the view screen, his mind racing to find a way to defeat it. The supernova cannon had taken down one dreadnought, but this was something else entirely. The Earth fleet's advantage of surprise had been spent, and now they faced the full might of the Xia war machine. HFY. Analyze that ship, Drake ordered, his voice tight with urgency. We need to find a weakness. HFY's sensors scanned the massive vessel, her AI working at full capacity to process the data. Captain, the armor on this ship is highly advanced. It's composed of a reactive material that adapts to incoming energy and kinetic impacts. Conventional weapons will be significantly less effective. Drake cursed under his breath. The Xia had pulled out all the stops to defend their homeworld, and now the Earth fleet was faced with a seemingly insurmountable challenge. But retreat was not an option, not after they had come this far. Captain Lin, what do you think? Drake asked, turning to his ally. Lin's eyes were narrowed as she studied the data on her console. We need to hit them with something they can't adapt to. Something unexpected. Drake nodded, his mind racing through the possibilities. They had one ace left, but it was risky, dangerous even. But in this situation, risk was their only option. HFY, prepare the quantum destabilizer, Drake ordered, his voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. Lin's eyes widened. The quantum destabilizer. That could tear a hole in space-time if we're not careful. I know, Drake replied, his expression grim. But it's the only thing we have that might penetrate their armor. We'll have to time it perfectly and get out of range before the blast radius expands. Lin hesitated, but then nodded, her determination matching his own. Do it. We'll follow your lead. HFY's voice was calm as she began the activation sequence. Quantum destabilizer charging. Estimated time to full power, 7 minutes. The Earth fleet continued to engage the Xia forces, but they were being pushed back by the sheer size and power of the war machine. The Xia had turned the tide of the battle, and now it was all the Earth fleet could do to hold their ground. Drake watched the countdown on his console, each second feeling like an eternity. The quantum destabilizer was their last hope, but if they couldn't deploy it in time, they would be overwhelmed. 3 minutes until destabilizer is ready, HFY reported. Xia war machine is closing in on our position. Drake clenched his fists, willing the weapon to charge faster. The Xia dreadnought loomed ever closer, its weapon systems glowing with ominous energy. They were running out of time. HFY, transfer all available power to shields, Drake ordered. We need to buy as much time as we can. The Nova Solis and the Ascendant formed a defensive line, their shields flaring as they absorbed the brunt of the Xia's attacks. But the war machine was relentless, its barrage unyielding. The Earth fleet's shields began to falter, and the hull of the Nova Solis shuddered under the impact of enemy fire. Destabilizer at 95%, HFY announced, her voice strained. Just a few more seconds. But they didn't have a few more seconds. The Xia war machine unleashed a concentrated beam of energy that struck the Nova Solis dead center. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring as systems began to fail. Captain, we're losing power. One of the crew shouted, panic lacing their voice. The shields won't hold much longer. Drake's heart pounded in his chest as he stared at the countdown. They were so close to victory. But it was slipping away, the Xia war machine bearing down on them with lethal intent. HFY, fire the destabilizer. Drake ordered, his voice a mix of desperation and determination. Fire it now. The quantum destabilizer, still not fully charged, unleashed its energy in a burst of blinding light. The beam shot forward, striking the Xia war machine and enveloping it in a swirling vortex of energy. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The war machine was caught in the destabilizer's field, its armor warping and shifting as the quantum forces tore at it. But then, with a deafening roar, the war machine exploded, the blast wave radiating out in all directions. The Earth fleet was rocked by the explosion, the Nova Solis and the Ascendant barely managing to avoid being caught in the expanding shockwave. The Kishore forces, now leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat, their morale shattered. Drake collapsed into his chair, relief flooding through him as he watched the remnants of the Kishore fleet scatter. They had done it. They had destroyed the war machine and broken the back of the Kishore defenses. But the victory was bittersweet. The Earth fleet had been pushed to its limits, and the cost had been high. The Nova Solis was heavily damaged, and the quantum destabilizer was now offline, its power depleted. As the Earth fleet regrouped and prepared for the final push towards the Kishore homeworld, HFY's voice broke the silence, the tone somber. "Captain Drake, we've detected something unusual on the Kishore homeworld. It's a signal, but it's not Kishore in origin. It's human." Drake's eyes widened in shock. Human? But how? HFY's sensors focused on the source of the signal, and the data that came back sent a chill down Drake's spine. "Captain, the signal is coming from deep within the planet's core," HFY said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "And it's using ancient Earth codes. Someone, or something, is down there." Drake exchanged a stunned glance with Lynn. The implications were staggering. Had there been survivors after all? Or was this something else? Something even more extraordinary? Whatever the truth was, they were about to find out. The final revelation. The Earth fleet hovered in orbit above the Kishore homeworld. The planet's surface a patchwork of fortifications and battle-scarred landscapes. The signal that HFY had detected pulsed steadily from deep within the planet's core, a beacon that had gone unnoticed by the Kishore for centuries. Captain Drake stood on the bridge of the Nova Solis, his mind racing with the possibilities. The idea that there could be human survivors after 500,000 years seemed impossible. But the signal was real, and it was using codes that hadn't been in use since the days before the fall of Earth. "HFY, can you pinpoint the exact location of the signal?" Drake asked, his voice tense with anticipation. HFY's sensors scanned the planet's surface, honing in on the source. "The signal is emanating from a facility buried deep beneath the planet's crust. It appears to be heavily shielded, which is why the Kishore never detected it." Drake nodded, his thoughts racing. What kind of facility? Military? Scientific? "It's difficult to say without more data," HFY replied. "But given the energy readings, it's likely something of great significance. The Kishore have built their strongest defenses around it, but they seem unaware of what lies beneath." Captain Lynn stepped forward, her expression one of steely determination. "We need to get down there and find out what's going on. If there are human survivors, or if there's something else, that could be the key to ending this war once and for all." Drake agreed. The final battle was at hand, and the fate of the Earth fleet, and possibly the entire galaxy, hinged on what they found in that hidden facility. "Prepare a landing team," Drake ordered. "We're going in." The Nova Solis and the Ascendant maneuvered into position above the facility, their landing teams assembling in the hangars. Drake and Lynn led the mission personally, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and hope. As they boarded the dropships, the weight of their mission pressed heavily on them. Whatever they found down there could change the course of history. The dropships descended through the atmosphere, the landscape below them a desolate wasteland scarred by centuries of war. As they neared the facility, the Kishore defenses sprang to life, automated turrets and drones launching to intercept the Earth forces. "Engage all targets," Drake ordered, his voice calm despite the tension. The dropship's guns blazed to life, cutting down the enemy defenses with ruthless precision. The Earth forces were unstoppable, their determination fueled by the knowledge that this was their last stand. The dropships touched down near the entrance to the facility, the Earth soldiers pouring out and securing the perimeter. The entrance was a massive blast door, its surface scarred and weathered by time. Drake and Lynn approached it, their weapons at the ready. HALIA, can you open it? Drake asked. HALIA interfaced with the door's control systems, her AA working quickly to bypass the ancient security protocols. The codes are archaic, but I believe I can. Yes, it's opening. The massive door groaned as it slowly slid open, revealing a dark corridor leading deep into the planet. The air inside was stale and cold, untouched for millennia. The team moved cautiously, their lights cutting through the darkness as they ventured deeper into the facility. As they moved further in, the signal grew stronger, guiding them toward the heart of the complex. The walls were lined with strange machinery, their purpose unknown. It was a place of secrets, a relic of a bygone era. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, its center dominated by a towering structure that pulsed with energy. The signal was coming from within it, the codes flashing on their scanners. "What is this place?" Lynn whispered, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. Drake approached the structure, his hand brushing against its surface. It was warm to the touch, vibrating with a power that felt almost alive. HALIA, can you access the systems? Drake asked, his voice hushed. HALIA's interface connected to the structure, her A probing its depths. "Captain, this is incredible. This facility, it's not just a remnant of human civilization. It's a vault, a repository of knowledge and technology. And the signal, it's a message." "A message?" Drake repeated, his heart pounding. "Yes," HALIA confirmed. "A message from the past, from the last survivors of Earth." The team fell silent as HALIA began to decode the message, the ancient words appearing on their screens. "To those who find this message," it began, "we are the last of our kind, the remnants of a once great civilization. We have watched the galaxy fall into darkness, and we have hidden ourselves away, waiting for the time when humanity might rise again." Drake's breath caught in his throat as he read the words. This was it, the final revelation, the key to everything. "We leave behind this vault," the message continued, "not as a weapon, but as a gift. A chance for humanity to reclaim its place in the stars. Use it wisely, for the future of all depends on it." As the message ended, the chamber was filled with a soft glow, the structure coming to life as the ancient technology activated. The knowledge and power of the past were now in their hands. Drake turned to his team, his eyes blazing with determination. "We found it. The key to victory. The Kishare won't stand a chance." Lynn nodded, her expression fierce. "Let's finish this." With the power of the ancient vault at their disposal, the Earth fleet would turn the tide of the war. The Kishare had thought they could crush humanity, but they had underestimated the resilience of the human spirit. The final battle was about to begin, and this time, there would be no stopping the human race. Subscribe and comment for part 2.